I'm Heather Grzych. I'm an author and an Ayurvedic practitioner, and I'm the host of the Wisdom of the Body podcast. Thanks for being here. And together, I hope we're going to help people rewrite some narratives. This show is about learning how to listen to your body more carefully, to the signals of your body, because often our physiology is telling us something about our lives before our minds have actually fully caught up. In the last episode, we talked about the moment when part of you is ready for change, but another part of you is afraid. And today I want to go a step deeper into that process, because one of the most fascinating things about transformation is this. Your body often begins adapting to the person that you are becoming before your life has actually visibly changed. I mean, think about a woman who is pregnant, for example. That's a very specific example. I don't mean all of a sudden you're going to grow another arm or something like that. I think biology has a certain amount of wiggle room for natural change, but your nervous system is already preparing you. And if you pay attention closely, you can start to see the signs. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain and the nervous system are constantly making predictions. Your body isn't just reacting to what is here right now, to the present moment. It's actually bringing stuff in from the past, but it's also preparing for the future. And neuroscientists sometimes call this predictive processing. So the brain is always asking, what's most likely to happen next? And then it adjusts your physiology accordingly. Your posture changes, your energy patterns shift, lots of changes happening. Maybe your sleep may become lighter or deeper, or your attention starts moving towards certain things and away from others. This isn't random. This is your nervous system quietly reorganizing around the direction your life may be moving. And what you focus on is what your body prepares for. There's a simple principle that shows up in neuroscience and psychology and also in Ayurveda, which is what my background is in. What you consistently focus on is what your body begins to prepare for. So if your attention keeps returning to something, maybe it's an idea or a desire or a possibility, your nervous system starts orienting towards it, even before any external change happens. So you might start waking up earlier. Your body might feel a little bit restless at night. Your digestion might shift. Your posture, again, might subtly change. And it's as if your body is saying, we're getting ready for something. So the mind and the body are not separate systems, and they're constantly influencing each other. So you can influence the mind through the body, you can influence the body through the mind. When we attend to something, whatever that is, in the way that we attend to it, it shapes our prana. This word prana means like life force. It's a Sanskrit word that means life force. So it changes that life force that we have, and the prana shapes the physical body. So the prana affects how the physical body manifests. It's one of the ways, obviously your diet and things like that also, but there's prana in your food that you eat. So if your attention keeps moving toward a new direction in life, your body begins adjusting its rhythms. You can do this consciously, and it also starts to happen automatically. And you might start to see subtle changes of identity change. Again, I don't think you're becoming a whole new person, but we do change. Even as we go through life, we change from a baby into a child, and a child into a going through puberty, into a young adult, into a middle-aged adult. Maybe you've had a child, not had a child. Different things have happened to people in the middle years of life that change them. And then you go through older age. And so in all those stages, we're changing, but also we're changing in response to what's happening in our daily life. So sometimes people think that transformation is dramatic, but so maybe it's a sudden decision or a big life announcement, something like that. But often it begins with very small signals that are happening. So again, you might notice that your sleep patterns are shifting. That's one way, or a new sense of restlessness with your work comes up. work that once felt fine and stable and like you were in a groove with it, suddenly that doesn't feel as stable anymore, or a change in what kinds of conversations interest you. You might start paying attention to different books, different topics, different ideas. And again, even your posture can shift with this. Someone who's preparing for a new chapter in life, they stand differently. They're more upright, they're more alert. Sometimes the opposite happens. Sometimes there's a heaviness that comes with the idea of change, or the body becomes tired if it's happening too fast. If your body is metabolizing a big internal shift, and when we have an identity transformation, a transition into a new version of ourselves, again, I don't mean we're like suddenly turning from human into fish or something like that, but there's a little bit of wiggle room here in our biology, epigenetically. So we are shifting slightly physiologically as our mentally we changing, so when the mind changes, the body's changing. And I see this a lot, obviously, with parenthood and especially with women, because someone who's thinking about having a child, like even before pregnancy happens, something in the body starts reorganizing. Attention changes, priorities shift, energy patterns shift, and someone who once worked late at night or something like that, they might find themselves wanting to rest earlier. People find they want to take care of themselves differently. Somebody who once thrived on constant activity starts feeling the need for quieter rhythm. And it's the same thing like if somebody's going to be retiring or just moving into a new role or a new job. And these changes, they aren't weakness. It's often the nervous system beginning to prepare for a different kind of life, where your attention will need to move more outward toward something else, another human being, another set of duties. Your body's practicing. And I always have this very vivid moment of when I went to the Galapagos Islands and I saw the blue-footed boobies and a whole bunch of other birds that have been studied for many years, and watched birds mating. And I watched how the birds, were mirroring each other and how they were nesting and the processes that they went through prior to, hatching their little eggs. There's a lot of stuff that happens in change processes and creative processes that we don't really realize are part of the change. We just know we feel a little bit different. So we love habits as humans. We want to be able to create new habits consciously, oftentimes, but sometimes they just kind of happen because something in our life circumstance has also changed. So when you start focusing on a new identity, maybe it's somebody who writes, or someone who teaches, or someone who cares for others, your brain starts building the neural pathways that support that new identity. And at first, it feels awkward. I've been through this a few times. It can feel really weird. It can feel very destabilizing, a lot of uncertainty, because the life you had before, the thing you did before, the sense of purpose that you had before, the tasks, the duties, the routines. Repetition tells the body, especially the nervous system, that this matters. And the body starts to reorganize around that repetition. Your energy starts to show up for the things that you've practiced paying attention to. I watched this show recently on Netflix called The Man in the High Castle. And there's a character in this story. Her name is Juliana Crane. She practices Aikido, which I think is a super cool form of martial arts. It's a type of martial art where when you are fighting an opponent, your goal is not to hurt the opponent. Your goal is to use the opponent's energy against them. So if they're throwing energy at you, figure out how to use it so that you use the least amount of energy. And she's a very strong practitioner of this form of martial arts. She's kind of kicking everybody's butts with it. And at the beginning of this story, she lives a certain kind of life, but we see her going to practice these these movements. Something in her life shifts, and she has a paradigm shift. She senses that the world that she's been living in, the political system, the narrative she's been given, may not be the whole truth. Not to give away the whole story, but it's like a parallel universe. Like, what would have happened if the Japanese and the Germans had won World War II? That's kind of like the background of this particular story. Obviously, that didn't happen, so it's fictional in nature. And so she's got this Aikido practice, and she's realizing that, whoa, this might not be the truth about the world. And that awareness slowly changes how she moves through the world. And this Aikido practice that she has, at some point, she's been practicing. She has to use it at some point in a real scenario. And she's so well trained for it that she stays so centered under pressure that her reflexes are prepared. She's trained for this scenario. Her body already knows how to move. And so when the moment that she has to use these skills arrives, her body's already begun to prepare her for the role that she would eventually step into in the story. I think that's really cool. So that's, one way where practice is already preparing us for the moments that matter. So the body practices before the moment arrives as well. Nature works this way. A tree doesn't grow leaves the day spring arrives. There's an internal chemistry that's shifting in certain time periods before we see anything happening on the outside. There's a bud that forms quietly. There's sap that starts moving, and the human system is similar, where it has certain physiological things going on inside that you don't know are happening. So with nature, the system is preparing itself for the season that is coming. And that's also how human transformation works. You may feel internal changes for months or even years before the external change becomes visible. And I think this is one of the most frustrating things about change for people, because our minds can think things up and we want them to happen immediately. But there is this preparation process that needs to take place in order for transformation to stick. Now, sometimes the mind and the body, they just move at different speeds. And this, the mind may be moving before the body may be moving before the mind. Sometimes the mind runs ahead. We talked about this in the last episode. Thoughts can move very quickly. Ideas can appear very quickly. They can also disappear very quickly. And it kind of makes you laugh at yourself when you realize how quickly your thoughts can change, but your body moves at a different pace. The cells, they regenerate slowly, and habits take time to form. Your nervous system needs repetition and safety in order to adapt. So sometimes a person understands the direction of their life, and intellectually in their mind, they see it, but the body hasn't caught up yet. And at other times, the body is already adapting before the mind has fully articulated what is happening. And both experiences are normal, but the important question is this: is your mind moving faster than your body, or is your body moving faster than your mind? Many people will ignore the early signs of transformation. They push through exhaustion, they override intuition, they spend years in therapy, and they assume that if something hasn't happened yet externally, that the internal signals must be off, or maybe they're meaningless even. But the body rarely sends a signal without a reason. Often it's preparing you, and it's quietly adjusting. So making space for a version of yourself that hasn't fully emerged yet. So today, I want to leave you with one simple question. What subtle changes have you noticed in your body recently? Changes in sleep, changes in posture, changes in what captures your attention. Sometimes those signals are not problems to solve. Sometimes they are signs that your nervous system is preparing you for the person you are becoming. And if that's happening, the most helpful thing you can do is listen. So thank you so much for being here. If this episode has resonated with you, you can follow The Wisdom of the Body on your favorite podcast platform and share this episode with someone who might be moving through a transformation of their own. Thanks, and see you next time for part 3. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. Visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.